So welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And we are back in the car, and we are back on the road. We're on our way to Basement Con, where we've got a nice long weekend of very big Wargames planned. So very excited for that. We have a bunch in the back of the car, but there's a bunch at the destination that we're going as well. I think we're planning to play Virgin Queen, War Room, and a couple others as well that I've heard rumors of, and sprinkle some bits and pieces in.
What are the ones you've heard rumors of?
Well, I know people were wondering if we could get in a game of Dune.
Oh, yeah. I would love
Dune. The new one from Gale Force 9, and then we're going to try and play Red Dragon Green Ensign tonight, I think is what it's called.
Crescent.
Yep. That...
It's a magazine war game that's been deluxified by decision, right?
Yeah. So I think I'll be curious to see if what we can all get in, because we got a lot of big games to go play.
Yeah, and we only have like 3 days, so
yeah. But so we're on our way here, and so what we thought we'd do is do our kind of most anticipated war games of 2025 to pass the time and have kind of a bit of a chit chat. So there's a lot of games that are on the books and like coming in 2025. A couple of them are already out and we haven't played them. But I think this
we have
year,
played one.
Yes, and I think this year is looking to shape up to be a really interesting year on wargaming. There's a lot of cool and very different things coming out, as well as some like classics. So let's dive on in. I have some very, I want to say, stereotypical picks, but
What's that mean?
I think some of the picks that I have will be very unsurprising to people.
Oh,
so we'll
sure.
get some of those out of the way. The first one is Fields of Fire 3. GMT's putting out Fields of Fire 3, the Parachute Regiment, and so it's the first non-US edition of Fields of Fire, and it's the Parachute Regiment, so it's going to have World War II in it. It's going to have the Falklands, and it's going to have Afghanistan. So it's their first foray into Afghanistan, first foray into the Falklands, and obviously it's British powers.
And it's a new designer, Colin Parsons.
Yes,
is his name. I think Ben still has a hand in it.
He has a massive hand in it. Like they work very closely together as a design team. But I think for like legal reasons, Ben's not allowed to work on Afghanistan stuff. And so
too recent.
Yeah, like as part of his work, he's like he's literally just not allowed to. So he's got Colin doing that, and I spoke to Ben about that 2 years ago, and it's just very exciting that that's coming to fruition. I think there's a lot to explore in both the Falklands and Afghanistan. It's very different than we've had from like Korea and Vietnam and World War II.
Well, I think one of
the other ones.
I have an interview on the blog with him. It's interesting because they have, obviously the British paras have some different dogma and priorities and the way they do things. So there's some differences, but there's also some equipment differences. And then you're getting some of that modern as well. So I would think it would be a very different experience.
Yes, and I think I think that's what I'm so excited for is what's different, what's similar, what's familiar, like how much change is there in it. And I just think, the themes also, we've got some interesting stuff that I relate to as well. So that's one I'm very excited for sure. What do you got going on?
Well, one I'll bring up right off the bat is Hubris.
Ooh.
The new game from Morgane Guyon-Rete. It's like the period just after Successors, I believe.
Okay.
But it's a card-driven game. It looks really big, so it's got that ancient focus.
And it's focused on Greece, right?
And I think the Hellenistic period. So yes,
as opposed to I think Successors covers much more of like the Mediterranean. I think Hubris is much more Greek, like
Greek focused,
from the map that I've seen at least.
Got it.
I'm pretty sure.
But to me, that game looks really interesting because it has a lot of depth to it.
Yeah.
The cards are interesting. The leaders and the way they work are very interesting. And Morgaine's a great designer, right? We've enjoyed Pendragon. Very much looking forward to this one.
Yes. And that's it, like Pendragon is one of those games that's very rich, and so I hope that we still get that richness. I mean, I know we will in Hubris as well, because that to me is a hallmark of Morgaine's games.
Yep.
Honestly, at this point.
Well, I think that's what she really does, right, for a living, is historical, research, and has a great passion for that period.
Well, and okay, this is a weird tangent. I think that'll be her second game, Hubris. I don't think.
Yes.
And so, I bring that up because she doesn't rush games.
No.
She's not someone churning them out. She's someone who is, spends a lot of time, research, development, working it out, making sure it's doing what she wants it to do, and that is also a good gaming experience, but also, an accurate gaming experience to what the thesis of the games are. So,
isn't that something that we kind of lack sometimes in the wargaming world? I feel like we do churn out a lot of games. And sometimes they're not. I don't want to say half-baked all the time, but sometimes they are. Sometimes the details are a little iffy.
But I think, and I'm not dogging on people who just put games out. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think her games, the depth, you can see that through the pretty long development phases that she goes through, and the payoff is there. I think that's really what I'm trying to say, is it is well worth the wait.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to Hubris a lot as well. I'm going to stick on the GMT train, because I got a few from them. And I think this one is one that you mentioned, want to mention as well, Italy 43.
Oh, yeah.
We'll just start with that. So, Italy 43 is Simonitch's follow-up to Salerno 43, and it's kind of like that's like a direct sequel to it, basically.
Well, and I think the next game in the series is Anzio 44.
And you'll be able to, I think you might be able to link them all.
Probably.
I'd heard a rumor of that. Whether or not you can.
If you remember Salerno 43, the northern part of the map literally is where the next game is going to pick up.
And so that's part of the Zogbon system. And they're so good. They're just really well made. It's like a really solid hex encounter system. Salerno is great because it's a small footprint and a short play time.
And so if you're getting into that series, that to me is a very good jumping off point.
It can be a good entry point to it for sure.
But as far as operational games go, I'm not sure there's many finer than what Mark puts together.
It has a very classic war game feel to it. Now it's got some pretty, cool fresh stuff in it that you don't see in other games, but when you're playing it, you're like, here's my hexes, here's my counters, here's my values, here's my combat charts. It just feels great as a war game. So I'm looking forward to more.
And we just played Ardennes 44 and Normandy 44 last year, after having played many of the others in the series, and it was interesting to see the common thread throughout those, but to also see some of the unique elements that dealt with the historicity of that specific campaign or battle.
Yeah.
And I look forward to that. Yeah, so Italy 43 looks amazing.
I'm also looking forward to the AmRev tri-pack that should be out this year as well. And I think that's something that's a bit newer to me. Because we played,
Brandywine.
We played Brandywine forever ago, it felt like
3 years ago.
And it was cool, it was enjoyable. But I felt like last year at SDHC, when we played Savannah with Mark Mikolos,
we played as a very loose term. I think we got worked. We got worked.
But having him just kind of go over the rules and have those come flooding back.
Yeah.
With someone where it was I wasn't trying to figure it out from a rule book. It was oh yeah.
I remember.
It was such a really fun experience going back to that system. I was energized for more of that.
So, what are the 3 games in that new tri-pack? Do you remember?
Yes, it is Monmouth, Newtown, and Germantown.
Okay.
And I think some of those old ones that they're re-putting back in, I think Germantown's been out before.
No, they're all old.
They're all old. Okay.
It's just a redoing of out of print volumes.
That's what it is.
Yep.
But like they're really old and really out of print.
Didn't we buy Monmouth?
I think we did.
When you went to Minnesota, you bought it at that
last
game
year
store.
We bought it, yeah.
I've got it on my shelf, but that's in the new.
Yeah.
Which it'll be a relic, right? It'll be something I just hold on to.
But the tri-packs are great value, especially if you get them on the P500 price. You got a lot of game in there, and it's a system that we had played, and it was fun, and it was enjoyable, and I'm
just
excited
fun.
to go back to it.
Yeah,
it was a really good time.
Very tactical. Love the card system and the way combat works, choosing your orders. I just very cool.
Your phone locked, so I can't open it, so I don't know what else you've got.
Got it. Oh, I'm trying not to kill us. Well, I know one off the top of my head while we're on the GMT train, Cross Bronx Expressway.
Okay.
So it would be volume 3 in the Irregular Conflict series. This one is designed by Non-Breaking Space, and it deals specifically with the historical events around like the 1960s and 70s in the Bronx. And it's not necessarily a war game, meaning there's no fighting, but it's that ideological warfare.
It's a geographical warfare
yes.
as well, right?
It's about zoning and neighborhoods and racial divide. It just looks supremely interesting to me. And we've had such a good experience with those Irregular Conflicts games. Jest of Robin Hood was fantastic. Vijay Nagara was amazing. And I very much look forward to see how that expands into that third volume.
And it being such a different type of conflict,
Yep.
and what that looks like, and what the play is like. I'm very curious to see how that comes out as well.
Well, and the prototype, obviously, it's pretty rough, but they've got the new cover that's kind of up, and that's always to me the bell telling you, hey, it's going to be upcoming soon when they kind of get that final art.
We're getting there, yeah.
But that one looks really good. I'm very much interested in seeing how that one turns out.
For me, at least, my final GMT one, there's a billion that I could mention.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping that Guerrilla Generation comes out this year.
I don't think it's going to.
I don't think it will, but I wanted to bring it up anyway because I'm hoping, I'm putting it out there for like Q4.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't be more excited for that game.
They are getting to the final art.
Yeah.
So I've seen one of the 4 battles. What is it, Guatemala?
I don't know.
They're all in South Central America, right? But that looks really good.
The art is the final thing that they do. So I'm like, once they get the art, that's the bottleneck, just so everyone knows. Once the art's done, we get it to the printer. So
and then it's usually 3 to 4 months.
If they do
that,
maybe we can get it
potentially.
Even if it's Christmas, we would still get it. That would be amazing.
And we had such a great experience with the British way that very much looking forward to how Stephen Rangazis changes that system to deal with these different type of insurgencies.
And he's got that expansion for the British way in the works as well.
Yeah, Enemy of My Enemy.
Yeah. I don't think that's a this year game either. But
No. Well, my final GMT one that I will mention, I believe it's my final one, 1820. The Congress of Vienna.
Oh, yeah.
So that one we actually own. We already have it. It's in the back of the car because I'm taking it just in case. I don't anticipate we get it because there's only 4 players. But it's in that Great Statesman series along with Churchill and Pericles, which we have enjoyed so much. But this one is the piece of the end of the Napoleonic Wars, right? The Napoleonic era. It looks really good. New designer, Frank Esparago. I just think it looks amazing, and I can't wait to try to get it to the table sometime this year at a convention.
So I have a couple games from Compass Games that I'm looking forward to. Ironically, these are both kind of redos.
Sure.
They have.
So they're designer signature editions?
Although, funnily enough, I don't think they are.
Okay.
They might be. They might end up as that, but currently they're labeled as kind of like...
I'm going to guess.
Ooh, yeah.
One of them is an American Civil War game?
No.
Ah. Okay. I don't have guesses anymore.
One of them is Burma 4345,
Oh,
4245.
Absolutely.
Really looking forward to that because I just think the CBI theatre is so interesting. We've played a couple games there, but I'm always interested in more because I think it's just it's such a unique theatre of war from World War II, and it's just there's a lot to do there, and I think that's a lot to explore.
That one looks really good.
And then the other one is I don't know how it's pronounced, Chaco or Chaco.
Oh yeah, the South American.
Yeah, it's Bolivia versus Paraguay in the 1930s. I
think that just went on Kickstarter.
Yeah,
which means
we'll get it
a couple of months away.
But it's like, who's ever played that game?
We have not.
Who's ever played the conflict there? At that time, not me.
The cover art on that one looks really good.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that was an old game. It might even have been a magazine game.
I think it was.
It was an old game that they're redoing as well.
Yeah.
But those are two that I'm like they've got some other games coming out which look great, but those two are ones where it's like I had looked at both of those, just looking through old games at some point, and the fact that they're redoing those, I'm like, ooh, yeah. Because again, it's interesting theatres that don't see the light of day very much in wargaming, at least for us, and that's exciting to me. That's what I'm looking forward to.
So I've ironically also got 2 Compass games on my list. One that I already have, it's at home. Haven't unboxed it, haven't done anything with it. But Pontiac's War. Do you remember that game from WBC in 2019?
Yeah,
we got a look at that with John Paniski. So it's literally Pontiac's War in like 1760 something, blankety blank. Just looks amazing by John Paniski. The second one from Compass that I have is Roma Victrix. It's kind of a tactical scenario battle-based ancient Rome box by, I'm trying to think what Paul Caleo, I believe is his name. There's an interview on the blog about that, but it looks so good, and it is shipping like right now. So I should get it here in the next month.
That's exciting.
But those are the 2 from Compass that I have.
Yeah, well, I can't find the designer on there. So next up, I have a couple games from MMP. They don't put out a ton of games, but Inflection Point.
You think that one's going to be out this year? It just went up on pre-order last summer.
So I'm once again putting it out there. I hope that we get it by the end of the year.
So this is more of a hope.
That one definitely is.
I just don't see that one being ready till next year, but I could be wrong.
I would love to see it this year. Because
if they're selling it at WBC, I will happily eat my words.
Yeah, it's the new BCS title, big East Front game. I'm looking forward to it. I just love the BCS system.
Me too.
And more of it is just, I'll buy any BCS game they put out. That's the reality.
I think that system, what I enjoy so much about it is the specific tie between, your baggage, what do they call them, baggage trains? They're not baggage trains.
No, it's called combat trains.
There you go. But the connection between that and your combat effectiveness, I think, is a really well done. It's kind of like OCS Lite in some ways. In that regard.
It has a very structured supply system, but it is not burdensome.
No.
Like, it's tactically burdensome, but it's not administratively burdensome. And that's where I think it really shines, because you get all of the supply concerns, but you don't need an Excel spreadsheet to do it. And it does it so well.
It really boils down to a couple of modifiers, and it's pretty, are you crossing the streams? Are they
and again, every
disordered?
Time we talk about BCS, it forces you to consider your different AOs, that you're not mixing and crossing guys over, and that you're actually like deploying your army like it would be deployed. Because you play something like, a lot of other Hex Encounter games, it's like, whatever, these guys over here, these guys over here.
Right, move them in.
You mix and match because it's I go, you go, and it doesn't matter. Yeah. The formations mix up and who cares. And just that extra level of consideration, you get rewarded so much for it in BCS. It's really great.
Yeah.
And then the other one I have from them is they're reissuing SCS Fallschirmjäger. I don't know if we'll get that this year, but it's update the artwork and reprint it. So
that went on pre-order the same time.
So I hope we get that. And I
have that one as well, by the way.
Right.
The old one.
but a new version of that, just with the updated rules and redoing, so we get nice counters in it. SCS, if you don't know, Standard Combat Series.
Solid.
Very simple, very solid, very clean hex encounter wargame system.
Yep.
That can be your first hex encounter wargame system very easily. I would recommend it as that, honestly.
Well, it's an I go, you go. It's very simple.
Yeah.
It's very well done.
I move my guys, I shoot my artillery.
Yeah.
We do some combats, right? And then you do it. It's not overburdensome with the rules. It's about 8 to 10 pages, including the special, game rules. And you just play it. And the game gets played. And then you've played a game.
Yeah.
Which, that sounds kind of insane. But so many of these massive games that we play,
they fight you.
It's an endeavor.
Yeah,
right?
You end up fighting the rules fighting the processes.
It's a 40-page rule book. It takes 6 months to play it over a course of 100 weekends. And then it's
By the way, 100 weekends is not 6 months.
I know. I realize that. but then you get halfway through and then they move to a different state, and then the game's over, and you never finish it.
And you never finish
SCS,
it.
you sit down, you set it up, you play it, and you actually complete a game, and it's really, really satisfying.
Yes, agreed. Very meaty.
Yeah.
But simple.
The other game I have on my list, and this is the last one on my list, there's a billion games we can talk about, is it's called All Our Brothers, from Legion Wargames, and this is coming out pretty soon. I think it's just charging people, and it's shipping
Isn't it
soon.
the Sulfurino?
Yes.
Okay, we need to get that one because it looks amazing.
We will be getting it immediately because
that is the Blind Swords system.
So
just by a different designer.
Yes, and it's Blind Swords in this. The Italian Unification Wars, I think is what it's called.
The Third Great War.
The Second War of Independence, the Risorgimento, whatever. There's a billion names for this thing, but it's this blind sword system in 1859, and it looks great.
Yep.
And we've played blind swords in the ACW. That was great. We played Metz 1870 and Franco-Prussian War. That was great.
A Most Fearful Sacrifice uses it's called the Black Swan, but it's
very
similar.
Very similar. But
what are the three frictions of war? Or the
three F's of war.
I'm terrible at it.
It's friction of war, the fog of war, and the fun of war, or something like that.
No, it's not fun.
Well, his games
anyway,
are fun.
Herman's going to kill us because we can never remember. I think it's become a trope at this point.
Is of us not knowing.
I will never get it ever.
But that system is really cool, and I really liked Metz 1870 because it had that system, but it was in this European battle that we had never played. Solferino, we've never played a Solferino game.
Well, I think that's one of the things that I love about Legion. Kind of on a tangent. Legion is just one of those wargame companies because they're small, they're boutique. I think Randy does the games that he wants to do and finds those games out there that he doesn't care if they're going to be overly,
he also
successful.
knows that that's his niche, right?
Yeah, right. That's where he lives.
If they put out a Bulge game, they put out a Bulge game.
Yeah.
If they put out a game that no one's ever heard of anything before, everyone's like, ooh, it makes you double take. Every single one of their games, you double take. He's like, what is that?
Yeah, I want to learn about that.
And he's done a really good job of carving out that. Really, at this point, they're really well produced games, and they are about topics that you haven't played something on.
Yeah,
is the reality of it.
Yeah.
So that's one I'm looking forward to immensely because it's an already established kind of mechanic system, but we're getting it in a different location, different setting. So it'll be new. That's new history for me.
Yeah.
With a system that I know that is going to be solid, and it fits that period really well.
A couple of others that I have. So one that kind of is that card-driven, very similar to Cross Bronx Expressway, meaning it deals with a different, non-necessarily traditional war topic, is that Chicago 68 from the Dietz Foundation.
Yeah, that looks fun.
Yoni Goldstein is the designer. Card-driven game on that 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago that led to riots in the streets and tear gas, but you play it opposed. Somebody is the authoritarian, the mayor, the police, The other side is the revolutionaries, the
insurgents.
protesters, the insurgents. It just looks really interesting. There's a lot of cool mechanics that he integrates into that. It just looks really good. I'm very much looking forward to that. My guess is that's going to come out in the late summer. But that's one I can't wait to play, just because it's different, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate all the Hex Encounter war games that we play and love them, but it's good also to get kind of a change of pace from time to time, and I think Chicago 68 is that.
Well, and along with that, not Hex Encounter, we've got the new Valiant Defense game that's coming out this year.
Yep.
Guadalcanal. First off, the artwork looks amazing.
Well, it's Nils Johansson, and he's just amazing.
But there's such a Valiant Defense is a great system already, series,
Solitaire series.
But it's something that is quite different from your old Hex Encounter war games, even different from like the CDGs that we've got at this point.
Yeah.
And that looks really cool because, again, I know the system's great, the artwork looks great. It's good, and it's a really interesting situation.
It's in the PTO. It's that Guadalcanal.
Yeah, it's
battle,
something
meat
fresh,
grinder.
something different. It's going to be. I have very high hopes for that.
I
game
do too.
As well.
Yep. What other? I can't remember the other ones that I had on my list. We've probably done enough. But
you've done most of these. Guadalcanal.
I can do some dancing.
Chicago. So I'm looking forward to Company of Heroes 2, which that's coming out.
Didn't you back that like 3 years ago?
Maybe even longer.
Okay.
But that's a whole story. Because the main designer and developer of it passed away about a few months after it closed, and so his family had to do a lot of work to get access to the funds, to all the passwords, all the design notes that were logged on his computer. They've done it, they've finished it. It's currently being boxed up and it'll ship out. So we should have it in the middle of the summer probably. That's been the first edition came out and I regret having not backed it. So we backed the second edition.
And that is a tactical squad-based
miniatures game.
Yeah.
It's played on hex boards and stuff, but it looks really cool, and they are currently in talks to renew their license to continue to do more of that, which that's exciting. So I'm looking forward to that. That's a little bit.
I know
bit different.
three others that I could mention. You already mentioned Legion, but Werewolf, which is the coin adjacent or coin-like struggle at the end of World War II, 1945 to about 1950, that werewolf insurgency, which was made up of former Nazis and dissidents fighting against the Americans, the Soviets, and then it's a four-faction asymmetrical card-assisted war game, and it looks amazing. I've followed it now for a couple of years, but the proof copy I know is in the hands of the designer, and they're working through it. So my guess is 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, if they're doing proofs, that means that's very close to being done.
Yeah. The other two are Napoleonic games. One we've already played, Alliance. I enjoyed that. Columbia Games. It's a block war game, 1 to 7 players. We played it 7 players.
Yeah.
Very interesting. It's basic. It's more like a beer and pretzel style of game. Not without its problems. We had a few problems with a couple of things, but overall, I think it's an interesting experience.
Yeah, the problems at you can see these guys' blocks because there's so many around a table.
Just turn the back block around.
And it's not that kind of game. It's not necessarily as intense.
If you're studying the guy's blocks, that you got a problem. Yeah, I'm going to be honest.
Don't be lame.
Yeah.
That's really all it is.
But that was a fun game, very much, looking forward to that, but we've already seen it. The other one is Imperial Borders from Nightingale Games. So it's the same makers of War Room.
Yeah.
Larry Harris of Axis and Allies fame.
And is that coming this year?
It's what I have read. It should be late this year. I'm not holding my breath.
Okay.
Right.
Because it looks amazing.
Yeah. Huge game, cost a pretty penny. I want to say it was like $250, but it has a lot of miniatures. It just looks really good, really interesting. That Ameritrash style of war game, a la Axis and Allies.
Yes, War Room Napoleonics.
Yeah,
is my understanding.
Very much looking forward to that one as well. I think those are the kind of the tail end of my anticipated war games.
Yeah, and then New Cold War from VUCA Simulations.
Yeah, I've got that in the back of the car. If we get an opportunity this weekend, great. If not...
And frankly, I'm looking forward to anything that VUCA Simulations puts out, because their games often have something real special to them.
Yeah. Well, I did play at least a majority of a game at WBC, and it was fantastic. Twilight Struggle-like, area control, area influence, based on the New Cold War, 1989 to 2019. So it looks beautiful.
Yeah. But I think that there's 100 million games that'll come out this year. So let us know in the comments which ones you're looking forward to. But appreciate you very much for tuning in. I'm Alexander for theplayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.